everyone, welcome back to Opal and Mint. I am Ashley, and today I want to talk about painting roses. So if you are new here, I am not a professional artist, but I love art and I want to bring you along my journey of learning watercolor techniques, how to paint different things. So today we're going to tackle roses. Now I've painted a lot of roses and I have dabbled with different styles and techniques of roses. And so I wanted to break down the rose. I've showed how I do like my loose, like really loose watercolor roses, but I showed a picture of one of my roses I did in a slightly different technique, and y'all wanted to know how I did that one. So that's what we're doing today. But aside from showing you the technique of painting the actual rose, I want to show you the brush strokes that go into that rose. So we're going to start from the beginning of the techniques that you need to know to paint this rose. So when I'm telling you to paint a C curve and push through the belly of the brush and lift, I want to show you that stroke before I show you how to put those strokes into a rose. I hope that made sense, but we're going to turn around, look at the, what is this called? A desk, and we're going to start painting roses. So again, I'm going to start with the brush strokes, show you how to do them, and then I'll show you how to combine those brush strokes together to paint a rose. So this is one way to paint a rose. This is not the only way to paint a rose, but it's just the way I'm going to show you today how to paint a rose. How many times can I say rose in one video? We shall see. So yeah, let's turn around. I'm going to break out my Daniel Smith paints because those are the ones that I love the most, and let's paint some roses. All right, ladies and gents, let's start painting some roses. The tripod is kind of in my way, but we're gonna just deal with it. Okay, so this is the loose style that I paint. This isn't the one we're doing today. But let me get a piece of paper here. So I'm gonna be painting on Arches cold press watercolor paper today. Honestly, this is not my favorite paper, but it is a good paper, and I think it will be good for this particular technique today. Use whatever paper you have. I honestly love practicing on 5 Below watercolor paper, and so this is just, I have this and I'm going to use it. That's all there is. Okay. All right. Sun is going in and out of the clouds, so I'm sorry if the light is changing. I am using natural light, so it probably will shift and change color a little bit. But so we're gonna start with brush strokes and then we'll get into the rose. But today I'm gonna be using the New York Central Oasis Round 8 brush. For roses, you can use different shapes of brushes, but I really love using a round brush. And I've been testing out this Oasis from New York Central. I got this at Jerry's Artarama, and their claim is that it holds even more water than natural hair. It is a synthetic hair brush. So I've been playing around with this to test that claim because I love my Rhapsody natural hair brushes. These are both a size 8, but the Rhapsody is a little bit bigger. All right, so brush strokes. If you have not watched my watercolor 101 video, it would be a great video to see before this one, but it's not necessary because I'm going to break down these brush strokes. Let me put the autofocus off so we can see what we're doing. Okay, so I'm just going to take, I am actually going to use purple right now for the brush stroke practices because I like that color. Okay, so this is Imperial Purple from Daniel Smith. And let's start. So the brush stroke that we're going to be using for the rose, we're going to start in a straight line, and you're going to start at the tip of your brush, push through the belly, and then back to the tip. So let me show you what that looks like. So it's best if you have kind of a vertical hold on your paintbrush, which just means it's up and down. So going sideways like this, you're not going to get as fine of a tip. So if you hold your brush like this, you're going to get a finer tip. So we're going to do tip of the brush, push through the belly of the brush, and then back through the tip of the brush. Okay, so that is the brush stroke for a rose, except it's curved. But I want you to practice it straight a few times. So even if you have done this and you've practiced this, this is a great exercise just to practice your brush strokes and see how fine you can get the tip, and then maybe do like how quickly you can get the tip. Just try different things with this brush stroke. So I'm gonna try like a very tip and then push and then tip, 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 okay? So play around with that for a little bit. Do some brush strokes where you're just tip, belly, and then tip. Tip, belly, and then I'm gonna slowly graduate to the tip. So it's the same stroke, but you have different amounts of time that you are putting pressure on it. So I'm gonna do super graduated and just try to work on the control, okay? All right, so that is the brush stroke. This is the tip, belly, tip. I don't know if this has a name, that's just what I call it. Okay, so next we're going to do a very, a C curve. So if you are not familiar, obviously it's just a curved line. It doesn't mean you're making the letter C, it just means you're curving. So I want you to just do some curves. Make some tighter, make some looser. Just do some C curves, because in the rose you have different levels of bend in those C curves. So once you get your C curve down, you're going to combine your tip, belly, tip, and your C curve. So you're going to curve this around, okay? So we're going to go start with the tip. We get a nice fine point. To get a fine point on your brush when you're getting your paint, don't just do that and then leave it, because then it makes it flat. Do you see that? Always rotate your brush in the paint to get that nice point, okay? All right, so we're gonna do tip, push through the belly of the brush, and then tip, okay? And then you have a petal shape. That is all the rose is. Tip, belly, and then tip. And depending on how long you have the pressure and how curved it is, it makes the petal shapes different. Another thing I like to do to make them look a little bit more organic, because this is a very uniform curve there, I like to kind of wiggle my brush through that curve sometimes. That didn't really wiggle, did it? Let's see. I mean, it's a little bit, but rotate my brush there. So I'm going to start with the tip, and then I'm going to kind of wiggle my brush, try to make it a little bit jagged, and this will look more like a natural petal shape, okay? So these are the basics of a rose. Once you have practiced those, once you get familiar with those, I mean, I would say fill up a whole page with these. Get your hand and your brain used to doing this movement. Okay, and so this movement goes into the rose that I normally do, the loose watercolor rose, which I'm going to do now, and then I'm going to show you the technique that I was talking about a minute ago. That was a little different. So we're going to do, we are going to do just the loose one first. Okay, so we're incorporating all of this. In the loose rose, you start off with little bitty C curves. This is the center of your rose, and try not to make it perfectly uniform. Let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit. And then from there, we're going to start our C curves where we're pushing out, okay? So we're going to start here. We're going to push that belly, and then look at that, okay? So you do that, and you kind of overlap just a little bit. So start here, push the belly of the brush. There you go. And then we'll do one more. So overlapping just a little bit, pushing the belly of that brush, and there. So the center is a little bit too loose for me, so let me fill some of that in. I want a darker. And when I do this loose style, I typically do darker pigment in the middle, and then we go lighter as we go out. So from there, I'm going to, it's getting brighter. Hold on. I'm going to dip my brush into my water just slightly and then wipe off the edge just a little bit to get a little bit of pigment off, so this is a little bit more watered down. So I'm starting here, overlapping that last one, pushing it out, kind of wiggling it around, and going to the tip. Okay, get a little bit more, and do the same thing, just however big you want your rose to be. And if you don't get your petal in one stroke, it's not the end of the world. I feel like this one needs to be a little bit wider. So I'm gonna go a little bit wider, okay? And then I'm gonna put a little bit of darkness right at the base of that petal. Okay, so that's the basic loose watercolor rose. Whoa, there's a lot of pigment on my brush there. Wash that out. I'm gonna lift, I'm gonna lift some of this on the edge. I like having the edge lighter. Why is that wobbling? All right, so we're gonna move on. This technique is going to be slightly different because we're going to put down a stroke of color, wash our brush out, and then blend out the edge. So I'm going to show you that stroke, not in a rose. We're going to switch to a different color since we're changing techniques. Let's go ahead and go with red. We're going to do a red rose. This is permanent red, but I want to add a little something to it. The light keeps changing. So for this technique, we're going to use a more pigmented color. So I have less water in this paint. All right. And so I'm just going to put a C curve here with this paint that's thicker. And I'm going to rinse off my brush, kind of tap off a little bit. And then I'm going to do the belly tip with the clean water kind of coming out of that petal. So instead of doing the whole thing in one stroke and then adding color to the base, we're starting with the color at the base and then taking clean water to blend that out. So we're going to do that in a rose. I hope this is making sense. And this one is a little bit slower. So the other one, I'm typically a little bit more sloppy and carefree. This one's still carefree, but it's going to be a little bit more precise, a bit slower. Oh, I hope that was out of focus, wasn't it? I really hope that all of that was not completely out of focus. Okay, so we are moving on. We're going to do the same thing with the center of the rose. So we're going to start with, I'm going to place these a little bit more precisely. I'm kind of overlapping those. And then I'm going to rinse my brush out, tap it off. And I'm just going to go along the edge of those strokes very lightly, blending those out. Okay. This will be more apparent and evident when we get to the bigger strokes. So I'm just adding green and red so I have a more muted red. Wow, words. Okay, so I'm going to take overlapping that petal, going here. This is just a C curve, not doing anything fancy. Rinsing that brush out. And then we're going to go along that with this clean water on the brush and make that petal shape. Okay. If you need to add more pigment, you can. I think I'm going to leave that. Okay. And then we're going to go to the next petal. So again, I'm going to do kind of a C curve going in. Rinsing that out, and then I'm going to push through the belly with this clean water and then tip. Okay, so you repeat that all the way around. There's a little bit too much white space, so I'm going to make this, there we go. Trying to get the balance of white space and then darkness and highlights and shadows and all of that. I'm going to add a little bit more darkness to some of this center. Okay. All right, so moving on to the next petal. Okay, so I'm taking my C-curve with pigmented paint. Okay, and then rinsing it off. Wiping my brush on the edge of the cup, and then I'm going to take the clean wet brush and push that petal out. Just like that. Okay. Again, we are all learning here. There's no mistakes, okay? Just practice. And I've said this a million times on here, but I want to show all the failures and successes on this channel. So if something doesn't turn out, that's totally fine. Let's that. This petal needs to be out some more. Whoops. That's the cool thing about watercolors. Just dab it off. Okay. Putting the stroke down first, and then making the petal shape. See? We're getting there. Okay, let's do a couple more here. So starting deep around that edge. Pushing that belly out. It's a funny thing to say. Push the belly out. And you can always add more. I don't know. There's something about this one that's not working for me. This particular rose. A lot of times when I'm painting, in the middle of actually painting, I'm being very critical, and a lot of times you just want to like give up and start over, but I want to encourage you, never leave a painting unfinished. And there's definitely been things I've given up on and just tossed. And there are times when, for your mental sake, you know, sometimes you need to move on. But a lot of times things are going to look a lot better once it's finished and you just can't see it yet. And I think that's one thing as you grow as an artist, you learn to see the end before it's the end. So you go past that ugly stage of your painting and you're able to see what it's going to look like or what it could look like. And I think that's something very important to learn as an artist, is pushing through the ugly stage of the painting. Okay, so there is that technique of that rose. I want to do another one because I like this one better. I want to do another one because I'm not liking that one, and I feel like when I'm trying to explain something, I end up not painting it as well. So I'm going to do another rose right here. Now that I've explained the process, I'm going to just focus on actually painting the rose this time and not worry about trying to explain while I'm painting. So watch this. Maybe this one will go a little bit better, and I'm going to switch to a yellow rose. I love yellow roses, and I want to dull it down just a little bit. So I'm going to put a little purple in it. So I've got cad medium yellow and a little bit of imperial purple. And I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to paint a rose. So of course when I start painting and ignore that I'm filming, the camera dies immediately. So I don't really know how much that was missed, but I'm going to continue painting. Okay, so here is the yellow rose. I'm hoping I'm at least showing you how it's done, and my execution may not be the greatest. I don't know. Again, when I'm painting, I never like the way it looks until later, and then I'm like, when I painted these roses, I thought they were really bad, and now I'm like, oh, they're kind of pretty. So I need to get my brain working. I don't know. I'm gonna switch to a different brush. I feel like I just want to. So I'm gonna paint one more. We always keep trying. Let's see here. I think I want to use this color because it's so gorgeous. May not be a traditional rose color, but that's okay. I need to look and see which one this one is. I think this one's, I can't remember. Okay, so let's try this. Whoops, one more time. This is the Princeton Aqua Elite brush number 6. This is a very pointed brush. Very, very fine tip. That other brush just wasn't pushing through the belly very well for me. I don't know. Again, it's a brush. Whoops, it's a brush I'm testing. So perhaps I should have used a brush I'm familiar with. But just push through the belly. This seems to be working a little better for me. So placing that color down, rinsing it off, and then just blending that line out to a petal shape. Okay, let's do another. Curving around, trying to keep these shapes as organic as possible. Let's get one more here. Okay. I feel like that one demonstrated the technique a little bit better. Getting the right amount of white space is a balancing act. Again, sometimes I like to go back in and add a little bit more to the base of those petals while it's still wet. I feel like it's lopsided. Let's add one more on this side. Okay. All right, so there's the basic technique of how I did that other rose that I showed a week or two ago. Again, this is all just practice and playing with different styles and different brush strokes. And honestly, a lot of time, I really love doing things that are super loose and not really fussing too much. Keep playing, keep painting, and if you try these roses, please tag me on Instagram. I would love to see your paintings as well. And yep, I just want to keep learning, keep growing, bring you along for the process, and let me know what you want to see next. Again, I'm not a master at this. I'm just learning and growing and playing. So I think my next 4 flowers, or not 4 flowers, 1 flower in 4 different styles. I think the next one I'm going to do is a tulip. I've been painting a lot of tulips, and so I'm going to show you how I paint a tulip in 4 different styles. But if you have any specific tutorials, or again, I'm going to use the word tutorial loosely. I'm just basically showing you how I'm painting and showing you my process, because I do not claim to be an expert. Just learn alongside with me, paint with me, de-stress, and make something beautiful. So that is going to wrap it up for this video, though. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that it was helpful or entertaining. I don't know. But if you did like this, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you want to see my future videos, hit that subscribe button down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Gonna keep painting because I can't stop, won't stop. Thumbnail now, thumbnail now. Here's my Daniel Smith palette. I I'm actually going to sand this and spray paint this. I want to customize my palette, and if you want to see a video on that, let me know, because I was so sad when I had to upgrade to this tin. My Daniel Smith one was too small. So I think I'm gonna try and paint one of my own, and we have a laser engraver, and I might laser engrave the Daniel Smith logo. Anyways, that has nothing to do with the video today. Camera's overheating again.